Sometimes as an artist, you just need a quick flip. A quick, cheap project that you can tackle in a couple of days. So I decided to give my friend €10 to spend at Action and find me, a canvas. There were a bunch of options. Well, we ended up settling for this weird, creepy frog thingy. It's supposed to be a lamp, I think. So let's go. I used to just sketch my projects, but then I was watching 1000 and I saw that he takes pictures of the actual thing and it makes so much more sense. So yeah, here's just me trying to take some pictures, but of course I had to sneak a couple of the cat, because come on, how can you have a cat next to you and not sneak a couple of pictures?
Bottom.
But now let's jump straight into sketching. I started by importing my photos into Procreate. I've never been to art school or any design one, so I'm not really confident in my use of programs like Photoshop and Illustrator, but Procreate is pretty easy, I think, and I know I can get the results I want. Here I was just removing the background because I like sketching on a clean page better, and it took a good minute or so, but you can enjoy it in just a couple of seconds. And don't worry, I won't make you see through the backside, because I have the power of magic. Okay, that was stupid, I'll admit that. But jokes aside, like most of my projects, I started by filling the sketch with one of my favorite colors, and then messed around a tiny bit with the blending modes so I could get an idea of the final look. Lately I've been really into painting these cute little chubby fluffy monsters, so that's what I was going for here as well. Except it ended up looking like the cat from Alice in Wonderland, and I don't know, I couldn't do it. I changed the color and I still hated it. I tried to convince myself it was just because of the wrong settings, but I started scrolling through them as if I was Star Platinum in JoJo. So I gave up.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
The original plan was to paint a layer of gesso after the sketch, but I figured that maybe layering some gesso now would give me an easier picture to sketch on, and it worked because I ended up going from this to this. And now we can start all over again. At this point I have solved one problem, but I stumbled upon a new one. Because painting sculptures, any clearly shaped object is an extra challenge in itself. I am used to painting sneakers, guitars, skateboards, and for as much as they are weird as canvases, they don't really have an image, a personality, so whatever you paint on them, then that's what people will see. While in this case, for example, that it's clearly a frog sculpture, if you try to paint a monster on top of it, people will still see it as a frog. At this point I had given up any hope of somehow fixing the hands and feet. Do frogs even have hands? Like, are they called paws maybe? I don't know, whatever. But yeah, so I decided to focus on the face and the eyes, and among a couple of options, I had to choose the most high looking one, no? To balance out some of the creepiness, I decided to shape the nose after my dog's, because nothing is cuter than booping a dog's nose. And now that the sketch is done, we can move on. So I've just finished painting this lighter purple on top, and the idea is to keep layering the darker one in the crevices and this lighter one on top, and I hope that by the end of it I can get a decent shading between the front and the back of this sort of fur texture. So now I'll go on with another layer of the dark one and probably one or maybe 2 other layers of the lighter one, and then I keep on texturing the rest. We ended up adding a couple of extra colors underneath and then dry brushing a very light purple on top, almost gray. So you can see under here there's a darker color, more reddish color. It does look like just purple from afar, but if you get close it's nice and textured and I kind of like it. So I've decided to do the back first before I actually finish the face, because I think giving it a face will give life to the character, so I want to keep it for the end. So now I'll just be focusing on these stitches here. I'll just paint some black and then the stitches on top and see what comes out. And then this sort of missing patch of fur. Now you might be wondering, Edo, why am I staring at a time-lapse instead of actual good footage of you painting? Well, let's just imagine for a second that one day a younger Edo was moving the footage to an external hard drive and forgot to eject it, and now the footage is corrupted and unusable. But let's just imagine. So yeah, this is all I got left. Enjoy not 1, but 2 time lapses. You're welcome. Progress update. I finished the back. I did all the stitches and the missing patch. It's obviously not done. I have to finish the black outline, but I think I'll do it later. Tiny problem. I really don't like this solar panel. For some reason, past me decided not to consider it, not to consider reality. Why? Because it was taped in the sketch. I'll show here the sketch. I don't know if I can. I'll try to edit it there. If you can see it here, it means I succeeded. But yeah, it wasn't there. It was white. I couldn't see it. Did not consider it.
Idiot. Stupid animal.
I do have a plan though. I think I'll turn it into a computer. I will add some buttons, and my little guy will not just be a fluffy monster. It'll be a cyborg, a robot, I don't know. And then that's it. I'll do this, do the face, give this little guy a tiny bit of a personality, and then I'm done. Ah yes, the artist. Artistus confusus maximus. A curious and often misunderstood species. At first glance, one might assume they live a solitary life, nestled in their natural habitat, surrounded by paintbrushes, sketchbooks, and a concerning number of half-empty mugs. And yet, they possess the rare ability to focus both on their own creations and on those they admire the most, a feat scientists still cannot fully explain. Observe as the artist spends long stretches of time in isolation, headphones on, eyes squinting mere inches from the canvas. However, this creature is not without its softer side. Despite their tendency for introversion, they often form bonds with domestic companions. Dogs are common allies, but it is the feline, mysterious, judgmental, that truly captures their affection. When a cat enters the room, the artist is momentarily roused from their trance. They engage in peculiar rituals, scratching behind their ears, speaking in absurd high-pitched tones, and uttering phrases like, "Who is my little good boy?" Hi, baby. Here we can see an artist cuddling their own project. They claim it's for ergonomic support, but experts agree it is simply because they are a bit odd. Camera awareness, sadly, is not among this piece's strengths. The artist has an uncanny ability to position their oversized cranium directly in front of the lens, ruining perfectly good footage with the back of their head. The intelligent ones adapt. Most would adjust after one shot. But this specimen, oh no, this one repeats the mistake again and again and again. Sometimes they may even manage to remove the artwork completely from the shot, producing content of no practical use, except perhaps for comedic value or educational warnings. And remember, nature is cruel, and so is content creation. Hello, me again. If you liked watching me turn weird objects into slightly less weird ones, feel free to like and subscribe. Or don't, not your boss, but either way, thanks for watching.